The cold December wind whipped across the old steel bridge as Marcus Wellington stood on the narrow ledge, his expensive suit jacket flapping behind him like a broken wing. Below him, the dark river rushed 30 feet down, its icy waters promising an end to the pain that had consumed his life for months. The billionaire's hands shook as he gripped the rusted railing, not from the cold, but from the weight of his failures. Everything he had built over 40 years was crumbling. His business, empire worth billions, just 6 months ago, now faced bankruptcy after a series of devastating market crashes and poor investments. His wife of 20 years had left him, taking their teenage daughter to live across the country. The mansion he called home would be seized by creditors next week. Even his closest friends had abandoned him when the money dried up. Marcus closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He had come to this bridge because it was where his father used to bring him as a child to watch the sunrise. Now it seemed like the perfect place to watch his own sun set forever. As he prepared to let go, the sound of footsteps on the bridge made him freeze. "Hey, mister, you okay up there?" a young voice called out. Marcus turned his head slightly and saw 3 people approaching. They looked to be in their early 20s, dressed in simple clothes that had seen better days. 2 young men and 1 woman walked together, their faces showing genuine concern despite their obvious struggles. "Please don't come any closer," Marcus said, his voice hoarse from crying. "Just leave me alone." The trio stopped about 10 feet away, but they didn't leave. The young woman stepped forward slightly. She had long brown hair and kind eyes that seemed familiar somehow, though Marcus was sure he had never seen her before. "My name is Emma," she said softly. "These are my brothers, Jake and Ryan. We were just walking home from our night shift at the diner when we saw you. Whatever's going on, it doesn't have to end this way." Marcus laughed bitterly. "You don't understand. I've lost everything. My company, my family, my home. I have nothing left to live for." Jake, the taller of the 2 brothers, scratched his beard thoughtfully. "We don't have much either, but we're still here, still fighting every day." "You're young," Marcus replied. "You have time to build something. I'm 58 years old. Everything I worked for is gone." Ryan, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "Our mom always told us that as long as you're breathing, you have a chance to make things right. She raised us 3 kids all by herself after our dad left when we were babies." The mention of an absent father made Marcus wince. He thought about his own past mistakes, the choices he had made when he was younger and more selfish. But these, strangers didn't need to know about his failures as a father on top of everything else. Emma took another small step closer. "What's your name?" "Marcus," he answered without thinking. "Marcus, I know we just met, but something tells me you're not the kind of man who gives up easily. Look at this suit you're wearing, the way you carry yourself. You've accomplished things in your life." "Accomplished things and lost them all," Marcus said, his grip on the railing loosening slightly. "But you built them once," Jake pointed out. "That means you have it in you to build again." The 3 siblings stood there in the freezing wind, refusing to abandon a complete stranger in his darkest moment. Marcus found himself studying their faces more closely. There was something about their expressions, their mannerisms, that nagged at him. The way Emma tilted her head when she was thinking, the way Jake ran his hand through his hair when he was nervous, the way Ryan bit his lip before speaking. "Why do you care what happens to me?" Marcus asked. "You don't even know me." "Because everyone deserves a chance," Emma said simply. "Because maybe tomorrow will be better than today. Because giving up means you'll never know what could have happened if you held on just a little longer." Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. When was the last time anyone had shown him such kindness without expecting anything in return? When was the last time anyone had fought for him the way these 3 young people were fighting right now? "I don't even know how I'd start over," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "One step at a time," Ryan said. "Same way we do it every day. We work our shifts at the diner, save every penny we can. Emma's studying online to become a nurse when she's not working. Jake's learning carpentry from YouTube videos. We share a tiny apartment and eat ramen noodles most nights, but we're making it work. You three live together? Marcus asked, something stirring in the back of his mind. Always have, Emma replied. We're triplets, born on the same day, 23 years ago. Our mom used to say we came into this world together, so we might as well face it together too, 23 years ago. Marcus felt his heart skip a beat. The timeline, their ages, the fact that they were triplets. It couldn't be possible. Could it? What was your mother's name? He asked, his voice suddenly urgent. The three siblings exchanged glances. Sarah, Emma said slowly. Sarah Mitchell. Why do you ask? Marcus felt the world spinning around him. Sarah Mitchell. The woman he had loved and left 24 years ago when she told him she was pregnant. He had been young, scared, and focused only on building his career. He had given her money and walked away, telling himself she would be better off without him. But she had been carrying triplets, his children. These three beautiful, kind, strong young people standing before him were his own flesh and blood. Oh, God, Marcus whispered, nearly losing his balance on the ledge. Oh, my God! Marcus gripped the railing so tightly his knuckles turned white. The realization hit him like a physical blow to the chest. These three young people, who had stopped their own lives to save a stranger, were his children. The children he had abandoned, before they were even born. Mister, you're scaring us, Emma said, taking another step forward. Please come down from there. Marcus stared at her face, now seeing himself in her features. The shape of her nose, the determined set of her jaw, the way her eyes crinkled slightly when she was worried. How had he not seen it immediately? Your mother, Marcus said, his voice shaking. Did she ever tell you anything about your father? Jake frowned. Why are you asking about our dad? We need to focus on getting you safe first. Please, Marcus begged. Just answer the question. Ryan and Emma looked at their brother, then back at Marcus. There was something in his tone that made them pause. She told us his name was Marcus, Emma said slowly. Marcus Wellington. She said he was a businessman who wasn't ready to be a father. The color drained from Marcus's face. She said he gave her money and disappeared, Jake added, his voice growing harder. She said he chose his career over his family. She wasn't bitter about it, though, Ryan said quickly, sensing the tension. Mom always told us that some people just aren't meant to be parents. She said our dad probably thought he was doing the right thing by staying away. Marcus felt like he was going to be sick. Here were his children, the ones he had abandoned, trying to save his life while talking about their deadbeat father with more compassion than he deserved. Come down from there, Emma pleaded again. Whatever connection you think you have to our family, we can talk about it safely on solid ground. Marcus looked at the three faces staring up at him with concern and kindness. These were his children, and they were everything he was not. They were selfless while he had been selfish. They stuck together while he had run away. They were trying to save lives while he was ready to throw his own away. Slowly, carefully, Marcus climbed back over the railing and stepped onto the bridge. His legs felt weak, and he had to lean against the steel beam for support. Are you hurt? Emma asked, rushing to his side. Do you need us to call an ambulance? No, Marcus said, looking into her concerned eyes. I just need to sit down for a minute. The four of them found a small bench near the end of the bridge. Marcus sat heavily, while the triplets stood nearby, clearly unsure what to do next. You said your father's name was Marcus Wellington, Marcus said finally. Yeah, Jake replied suspiciously. Why? You know him or something? Marcus took a shaky breath. I am him. The silence that followed was deafening. The triplets stared at him. In shock, their faces cycling through disbelief, confusion, and then something that looked like pain. "That's not funny," Ryan said angrily. "Our dad is some rich businessman who didn't want us. You're just some guy who was about to jump off a bridge." "I was a rich businessman," Marcus said quietly. "I lost everything 6 months ago. My company went bankrupt, my wife left me, and I'm about to lose my house. But 24 years ago, I was young and stupid and scared. Your mother told me she was pregnant, and I panicked. I gave her money and ran away because I thought I wasn't ready to be a father." Emma's hand went to her mouth. "You're lying." "I wish I was," Marcus said, pulling out his wallet with trembling fingers. He found an old, faded photo tucked behind his credit cards. It was a picture of Sarah Mitchell, taken during the few months they had dated. "This is your mother, isn't it?" The triplets gathered around to look at the photo. It was definitely their mother, but much younger than they had ever seen her. "She kept that photo?" Emma asked, her voice barely a whisper. "I kept it," Marcus corrected. "I carried it with me for 24 years, telling myself I had made the right choice, lying to myself that walking away was better for everyone." Jake stepped back, his face flushed with anger. "So you're telling us that the man we just saved from killing himself is the same man who abandoned our pregnant mother?" "Yes," Marcus said simply. "And you expect us to what, forgive you? Welcome you back into our lives?" Ryan's voice was rising. "Do you have any idea what our childhood was like? Mom worked 3 jobs just to keep food on the table. We wore hand-me-down clothes and lived in a 1-bedroom apartment until we were teenagers." Marcus felt each word like a knife to his heart. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness." "You're right, you don't," Jake said, starting to pace. "Mom died 2 years ago from cancer. She couldn't afford the best treatment because she spent every penny she had raising us. Where were you then?" "I didn't know," Marcus said, tears streaming down his face. "I didn't know she was sick. I didn't know you existed until tonight." "You didn't know because you didn't care enough to find out," Emma said, her own eyes filling with tears. "For 23 years, you never once tried to contact us or check on Mom." "You're right," Marcus agreed. "I was selfish and cowardly. I told myself that giving her money was enough, that you would all be better off without me. I convinced myself I was doing the noble thing by staying away." "Noble?" Ryan laughed bitterly. "There was nothing noble about abandoning your pregnant girlfriend." Marcus nodded miserably. "I know that now. I've known it for years, but I was too proud and too scared to admit I was wrong." The 4 of them sat in painful silence for several minutes. The wind had picked up again, and snow was starting to fall lightly. "So, what happens now?" Emma asked finally. "You've found us, or we've found you. What are you expecting?" "I'm not expecting anything," Marcus said honestly. "I know I don't have the right to ask for anything from you. You saved my life tonight, and I'll be grateful for that forever. But I don't expect you to want me in your lives." "Good," Jake said, harshly. "Because we don't." But even as he said it, Emma was studying Marcus's face more closely. Despite her anger and hurt, she could see the genuine remorse in his eyes. And something else. A brokenness that went beyond just financial loss. "Why? Were you really on that bridge tonight?" she asked. Marcus looked up at Emma, surprised by the gentleness in her voice despite everything he had just revealed. Her brothers were still standing with their arms crossed, anger radiating from them. But Emma had sat down on the bench beside him. "I lost everything," Marcus said, staring at his hands. "My business empire collapsed 6 months ago. Bad investments, market crashes, some poor decisions on my part. I went from being worth $3 billion to owing more money than I could ever pay back in several lifetimes." "So you were going to kill yourself over money?" Ryan asked coldly. "It wasn't just the money," Marcus replied. "My wife Catherine left me the day the bankruptcy papers were filed. She took our daughter Jessica and moved to California. Jessica is 16, and she won't even take my phone calls anymore. She's ashamed of me." Jake scoffed. "At least you got to watch one of your daughters grow up." The words hit Marcus like a slap. He looked at Emma, really looked at her, and felt a crushing weight of regret. She was beautiful, intelligent, kind, and he had missed every moment of her life. He had missed her first words, her first steps, her graduation, everything. "You're right," Marcus said quietly. "I got to be a father to Jessica, and I still managed to fail her. She watched me become so obsessed with money and success that I forgot what really mattered. When everything collapsed, she saw me as weak and pathetic." "Are you?" Emma asked. "Weak and pathetic?" Marcus thought about the question seriously. "I used to think I was strong because I could make tough business decisions and build companies. But when real adversity hit, when I lost the money and status, that defined me. I crumbled completely. So yes, maybe I am weak. Or maybe you just never learned what real strength looks like," Emma said, glancing at her brothers. "Emma," Jake warned. "Don't." "Don't what? Don't try to understand why our father was ready to jump off a bridge? Don't wonder what kind of man he really is underneath all the mistakes he's made? He's the kind of man who abandons pregnant women," Ryan said firmly. "That's all we need to know." Emma stood up and walked to the railing, looking out over the dark water. "Mom used to say that people aren't just one thing. They're not all good or all bad. They're complicated." "Mom was too forgiving," Jake replied. "She always made excuses for people who hurt her." "Maybe," Emma agreed. "But she also taught us to help people when they're drowning. And right now, Marcus looks like he's drowning." Marcus watched this exchange between his children with fascination and heartbreak. Even in their anger and hurt, they were debating whether to help him. It said everything about the kind of people they were and the mother who had raised them. "Tell us about Jessica," Emma said suddenly, turning back to Marcus. "Tell us about our sister." "Half-sister," Ryan corrected. "Sister," Emma said firmly. "Tell us about her." Marcus felt a small spark of something that might have been hope. "She's incredible, smart, funny, talented. She plays piano and speaks 3 languages. She wants to be a doctor." He paused, his voice growing sad. "But she's also angry and hurt right now. She feels like I've embarrassed her and ruined her future." "What do you mean, ruined her future?" Jake asked, despite himself. "She was supposed to start at Harvard next year. I had already paid her tuition, but now that money is gone. The college fund I set up for her was seized by creditors. She'll have to take out massive loans if she wants to go to college at all." The triplets exchanged glances. They all understood struggling to pay for education. Emma was taking online nursing classes, whenever she could afford the course fees. Jake was learning carpentry through free YouTube videos because he couldn't afford trade school. Ryan dreamed of studying business but couldn't even think about college with their current finances. "Where are you living now?" Emma asked. "I have a hotel room for 3 more days," Marcus replied. "After that, I honestly don't know. I can't get a job because my bankruptcy is all over the news. No one wants to hire a failed billionaire." "But you have experience running businesses," Ryan pointed out. "That has to count for something." "You'd think so. But apparently being associated with a spectacular failure makes me unemployable. I've applied for dozens of jobs, everything from executive positions to entry-level management. No one will even give me an interview." "Have you tried applying for regular jobs?" Emma asked. "Not business jobs, but just work?" Marcus looked confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean like working at a restaurant or in retail or construction. Honest work that pays honest money." "I don't think I'm qualified for those kinds of jobs," Marcus admitted. Jake laughed, but it wasn't entirely unkind. "You're not qualified to wash dishes or stock shelves? Come on, you just think you're too good for that kind of work." "No, Marcus started to protest, then stopped. Jake was right. Even in his desperation, he had still been looking for positions that matched his old status. "You're right. I have been too proud to consider regular jobs. Pride doesn't pay rent, Ryan said. We learned that the hard way after Mom died. We had to take whatever work we could find. How did you manage after she passed? Marcus asked. Gently, Emma's face grew sad. It was hard. Mom had some medical bills that ate up her small life insurance policy. We had to move to a cheaper apartment. Jake dropped out of community college to work full-time. I postponed my nursing program. Ryan gave up his plans to study business. But you stuck together, Marcus observed. Of course we did, Emma replied. We're family. That's what family does. The word family hung in the cold air between them. Marcus felt the weight of it, the accusation and the longing all mixed together. I know I have no right to ask this, Marcus said slowly, but could I maybe buy you all some coffee or food? It's late, and you must be hungry after your shifts. We don't need your charity, Jake said immediately. It wouldn't be charity, Marcus replied. It would be 3 people helping someone who has nowhere else to go and nothing left to lose. I may not have much money left, but I have enough for coffee and sandwiches. Emma looked at her brothers. I could eat something. Emma, Ryan warned. What? I'm hungry, and it's freezing out here. We can at least hear what he has to say. There's a diner about 6 blocks from here, Marcus said hopefully. It's probably still open. Jake sighed heavily. Fine, but we're not promising anything except to listen. As they started walking toward the diner, Marcus felt a strange sensation he hadn't experienced in months. For the first time since his world had collapsed, he wasn't completely alone. He was walking with his children, his own flesh and blood, people who had saved his life without even knowing who he was. It wasn't forgiveness, and it certainly wasn't a happy reunion, but it was a beginning. 3 weeks later, Marcus stood outside Rodriguez Construction at 5:30 in the morning, his hands wrapped around a thermos of coffee and his body aching from the previous day's work. The expensive suits were gone, replaced by work boots, jeans and flannel shirts that Emma had helped him pick out at a thrift store. His first day on the job had been humbling in ways he never expected. Tony Rodriguez had looked at his soft hands and skeptical expression and assigned him to the cleanup crew. For 8 hours, Marcus had hauled debris, swept concrete dust, and learned that honest work came with honest exhaustion. You look like you got hit by a truck, Jake said, walking up beside him. Marcus turned to see his son approaching with his own coffee and work gear. Jake had been the hardest to win over, still suspicious of Marcus's motives and quick to point out his mistakes. I feel like it too, Marcus admitted. How do you do this every day? You get used to it, Jake replied. Your hands will toughen up, your back will get stronger. Takes time, though. They walked toward the job site together, joining the stream of workers starting their day. Marcus had rented a small studio apartment 6 blocks from the construction site, close enough to walk to work. It was smaller than his old walk-in closet, but it was clean and affordable on his construction wages. Tony wants to see you this morning, Jake mentioned as they picked up their hard hats. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. Did he say why? Nope. But you haven't been fired yet, so I wouldn't worry too much. Tony Rodriguez was a weathered man in his 50s who had built his company from nothing through hard work and fair dealing. He found Marcus by the supply trailer and motioned for him to follow. Wellington, walk with me, Tony said. They headed to the half-finished office building. That was their current project. Marcus had been working on this site since his 2nd day, gradually earning more responsibility as he proved he wasn't afraid of hard work. You know, when Jake first told me about you, I thought it was a joke, Tony said as they walked. Former billionaire wants to swing a hammer? I figured you'd last maybe 2 days before you came to your senses. I almost quit after the first day, Marcus admitted. Everything hurt, and I felt completely useless. But you didn't quit. No, sir. Tony stopped walking and turned to face Marcus. Why not? And don't give me some line about finding yourself or appreciating honest work. Why are you really here? Marcus thought about the question. Because my children are watching. Because I need to prove to them and to myself that I can stick with something difficult. Because running away is what got me into this mess in the first place. Tony nodded approvingly. Those are good reasons. Good enough that I'm promoting you. Marcus blinked in surprise. Sir? You're moving to the electrical crew. Pays better and you'll learn some real skills, but it means more responsibility and more complex work. You think you can handle it? I'll do my best, Marcus said. That's all anyone can do. Report to Dave Martinez after break. He'll get you started. As Tony walked away, Marcus felt a surge of something he hadn't experienced in months, pride in accomplishment. It wasn't the same as closing a billion-dollar deal, but it felt more real somehow. That evening, Marcus sat in the Triplets' small apartment, sharing takeout Chinese food and watching Emma study for her nursing exam on her laptop. Ryan was at his night shift at the diner, but Jake was there, reading a carpentry manual he'd borrowed from the library. You got promoted, Jake said without looking up from his book. Tony told me. Word travels fast around here, Marcus observed. Small crew, Emma said, not looking away from her computer screen. Everyone knows everyone's business. Marcus watched his daughter studying, noting the determination in her posture. How's the nursing program going? Good. Hard, but good. I should be able to take the licensing exam in 6 months if I can keep up with the coursework. What about the cost? Are you able to manage the tuition? Emma finally looked up from her laptop. We manage. Jake and Ryan help when they can, and I've been saving for 2 years. Marcus hesitated, then pulled out his phone. I've been saving too. Not much, but something. He showed her a banking app with a modest balance. I know it's not enough for full tuition, but maybe it could help with books or fees. Emma stared at the screen. It was more money than she made in 3 months, but a fraction of what her father used to spend on lunch. You don't have to do that, she said quietly. I want to. I need to. I missed 23 years of supporting your dreams. Let me help with this one small thing. The Silver Spoon Diner was nearly empty at 2 in the morning. Just a few shift workers and late-night travelers scattered across the worn vinyl booths. The Triplets chose a corner table with Marcus sitting across from them like he was being interviewed for a job he probably wouldn't get. A tired-looking waitress approached their table. Hey, guys, she said to the Triplets with a smile. You're back early. Thought you were done for the night. Hey, Linda, Emma replied. We brought a friend. Could we get some coffee and maybe see the late-night menu? Linda glanced at Marcus, taking in his expensive but rumpled suit. Sure thing, honey. Coffee all around? They ordered coffee and sandwiches, and Linda shuffled away, leaving the 4 of them in awkward silence. So this is where you work? Marcus asked, looking around the diner. All 3 of us, Jake replied. I work the breakfast shift. Emma and Ryan work nights. We've been here almost 2 years now. The owner, Mr. Peterson, is a good man, Emma added. He hired us when nobody else would. We didn't have much experience, but he took a chance on us. Marcus nodded, studying the worn booths and faded floor tiles. It seems like an honest place. It is, Ryan said. Nothing fancy, but Mr. Peterson pays fair wages and treats his employees like family. When Linda brought their food, Marcus found himself genuinely hungry for the first time in weeks. The simple turkey sandwich and coffee tasted better than the expensive meals he used to take for granted. Can I ask you something? Emma said as they ate. What was our mother like when you knew her? Marcus set down his sandwich, his expression growing soft. She was incredible. Beautiful, obviously, but more than that. She was kind and smart and funny. She had this laugh that could light up a whole room. He paused, lost in the memory. She was studying to be a teacher. She wanted to work with children. She never became a teacher, Jake said quietly. Why not? Because she had 3 babies to raise by herself, Ryan answered. She couldn't afford to finish college and pay for childcare at the same time. Marcus felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. Another dream destroyed by his selfishness. What did she do for work? Whatever she could find, Emma replied. She cleaned houses, waited tables, worked in factories. Sometimes she had 2 or 3 jobs at the same time just to keep us fed and housed. But she never complained, Jake added, his voice softening slightly. Not once. She always told us we were her greatest achievement. Marcus had to wipe his eyes. She sounds like an amazing mother. She was, Emma agreed. She taught us that family means showing up for each other no matter what. She taught us that love isn't just a feeling, it's a choice you make every day. She taught us that actions matter more than words, Ryan said, looking directly at Marcus. The message was clear, and Marcus deserved it. You're right. I said I loved her, but I didn't act like it. I said I wanted to do the right thing, but I did the opposite. So why now? Jake asked. Why are you telling us all this? What do you want from us? Marcus thought about the question for a long moment. I don't want anything from you. I know I don't have the right to want anything. But I need you to know that walking away from your mother was the biggest mistake of my life. Every success I had afterward felt hollow because I knew I had failed the people who mattered most. If you felt that way, why didn't you ever try to find us? Emma asked. Cowardice, Marcus admitted. Pure cowardice. I told myself that you were better off without me, but the truth is I was terrified that you would hate me. I was afraid to face what I had done. Well, congratulations, Jake said. You were right to be afraid. We do hate you. But even as Jake said it, Emma was studying Marcus's face. She could see the genuine pain there, the regret that went bone deep. It didn't excuse what he had done, but it was real. What happens now? She asked. After tonight, I mean. Where will you go? I don't know, Marcus answered honestly. I've been thinking about leaving town, maybe going somewhere nobody knows my name, starting completely over. Running away again? Ryan observed. Marcus winced. I guess that's what it would be, wouldn't it? I seem to be good at running away. Maybe it's time to try staying and fighting instead, Emma suggested. Emma, Jake warned again. What? She said, turning to her brothers. Look at him. Really look at him. He's broken and desperate and alone. Doesn't that remind you of anyone? Jake and Ryan glanced at each other. They knew Emma was thinking about the months after their mother died, when they had all felt hopeless and lost. That's different, Ryan said. We didn't abandon anyone. No, but we were still drowning. And what did Mom always tell us about people who were drowning? You throw them a rope, Jake said reluctantly. Even if they don't deserve it, Emma pressed. Marcus held up his hand. Please don't argue about me. You 3 saved my life tonight, and that's more than I deserved. You don't owe me anything else. Maybe we don't owe you anything, Emma said. But that doesn't mean we can't. Choose to help anyway. She pulled out her phone and started typing. There's a job opening at the construction company where Jake works sometimes. It's manual labor, and the pay isn't great, but it's honest work. Emma, what are you doing? Jake asked. I'm sending the information to Marcus, she replied, showing them her phone. The foreman's name is Tony Rodriguez. He's a good guy who believes in second chances. Marcus stared at the phone screen Emma had turned toward him. You want me to apply for a construction job? I want you to apply for a job. Period. Any job. You said you were unemployable as a businessman, so stop trying to be a businessman. I don't know anything about construction. You don't know anything about being a father either, but you're going to have to learn that too, Emma said quietly. Emma, Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying that maybe, if you're really ready to change, If you're really ready to be the kind of man Mom deserved and we needed, then maybe we could try to figure this out together." Jake and Ryan looked at their sister in shock. "Emma, are you crazy?" Jake asked. "He abandoned us." "He abandoned Mom when she was pregnant," Emma corrected. "He never got the chance to abandon us because he never knew us. There's a difference." "A small difference," Ryan pointed out. "Maybe," Emma agreed, "but big enough to matter." Marcus felt hope and terror warring in his chest. What would that look like? Figuring it out together? "I don't know yet," Emma admitted, "but I think it starts with you getting a job and a place to live. It starts with you proving that you're not going to run away again the first time things get difficult." "And what about us?" Jake asked. "What do we get out of this?" Emma looked at her brothers, then at Marcus. "We get to see if the man who gave us life can learn to be the father we never had. We get to find out if forgiveness is possible, if families can be rebuilt, if people can really change." "And if he can't change?" Ryan asked. "Then we'll know we tried," Emma replied. "And we'll move on with our lives knowing we gave him the same chance Mom would have given him." Marcus felt tears streaming down his face again. These incredible young people, his children, were offering him something he had never expected and didn't deserve. A second chance. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the parking lot of Jefferson High School in Sacramento, his hands shaking as he watched teenagers stream out of the building. He had taken 3 days off work and driven 18 hours in his used pickup truck to be here when Jessica's school day ended. He spotted her immediately. She had grown taller since he'd last seen her, and her dark hair was shorter now, but she still had the same determined walk he remembered. She was laughing with friends, looking happy and normal, and Marcus felt both relief and guilt wash over him. Jessica looked up and saw him standing by his truck. Her laughter died, and Marcus watched her expression cycle through shock, anger, and something that might have been pain. She said something to her friends and walked over to him slowly, her backpack slung over one shoulder. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice carefully neutral. "I came to see you," Marcus replied. "To talk, if you'll let me." "Mom said you've been sending letters." "Have you read them?" Jessica shrugged. "Some of them." Marcus nodded. He had written dozens of letters over the past 6 months, trying to explain everything that had happened, trying to share the changes in his life, trying to apologize for all the ways he had failed her. "You look different," Jessica observed, taking in his work clothes and the calluses on his hands. "I am different," Marcus said. "Not better necessarily, but different." "Mom said you're working construction now." "Yeah, it's hard work, but I like it. It's honest." Jessica studied his face, looking for signs of the bitter, defeated man who had left California 6 months ago. Instead, she saw someone who looked tired, but somehow more solid, more real. "Is it true about the other kids?" she asked quietly. "Do you really have 3 other children?" Marcus felt his heart clench. "Yes, triplets. They're 23 now. Their names are Emma, Jake, and Ryan. And you never told me about them. I never told anyone about them. I was ashamed of what I had done, of how I had abandoned their mother when she needed me most." Jessica was quiet for a long moment. "Are they why you changed? Why you're suddenly trying to be a better person?" Marcus thought about the question, carefully. "They're part of it. Meeting them, seeing what incredible people they became despite my absence, made me realize how much I had missed, how much I had thrown away by being selfish and cowardly." "What's the other part?" "You," Marcus said simply. "Losing your respect, seeing the disappointment in your eyes when everything collapsed. I realized that all the money and success in the world didn't matter if I couldn't be a father you could be proud of." Jessica's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back. "I was embarrassed," she admitted. "All my friends knew who you were, and then suddenly you were this failure. This pathetic man who lost everything. You had every right to be embarrassed. I was pathetic. Are you still? Marcus considered the question. I'm still poor. I still live in a tiny apartment and work with my hands for a living. But I don't think I'm pathetic anymore. I think I'm finally becoming the man I should have been all along. A car pulled up behind them, and Catherine got out. She looked older, than Marcus remembered, more tired, but still beautiful. Her expression was guarded as she approached. "Hello, Marcus," she said carefully. "Catherine, thank you for not calling the police when I showed up at Jessica's school." "I thought about it," she replied honestly. "But Jessica said she wanted to hear what you had to say." The three of them stood in an awkward triangle, years of hurt and disappointment hanging between them. "I'm not here to cause problems," Marcus said. "I just wanted Jessica to know that I haven't given up on being her father, even if she's given up on me." "I haven't given up on you," Jessica said quietly. "I just don't know who you are anymore." "I'm figuring that out myself," Marcus admitted. "But I can tell you who I'm trying to be. I'm trying to be someone who shows up, someone who keeps his promises, someone who puts his family before his ego." Catherine spoke up. "The letters you've been sending, some of them were about helping with Jessica's college expenses." "I've been saving money," Marcus confirmed. "It's not much compared to what I used to have, but it's something. I want to help, however I can." "We don't need your help," Catherine said, but there was no venom in it. "Jessica got a partial scholarship to UC Davis. She's going to study pre-med." Marcus felt a surge of pride. "That's incredible, Jess. I'm so proud of you." "Don't call me Jess," Jessica said automatically, then caught herself. "I mean, I'm not ready for that yet." "I understand." They stood in silence for a moment, watching. Other families reunite in the parking lot around them. "Tell me about them," Jessica said suddenly. "About Emma, Jake, and Ryan. What are they like?" Marcus's face lit up. "They're extraordinary. Emma's studying to be a nurse while working nights at a diner. Jake is learning carpentry and working construction. Ryan is saving money to study business. They take care of each other in a way that would make your mother proud." "Their mother," Jessica corrected. "Yes, Sarah. She did an amazing job raising them. They're kind and strong and loyal. They saved my life, literally and figuratively." "Do they know about me?" "They know everything about you. They call you their sister. And they helped me practice what I would say to you today." Jessica looked surprised. "They helped you?" "They didn't have to. They could have told me to stay away from you, to not complicate their lives with my other failures. But instead, they encouraged me to fight for you. They said family shows up for each other." Catherine and Jessica exchanged glances. This was not the Marcus they remembered, the man who put his own interests first in every situation. "I brought something for you," Marcus said, reaching into his truck and pulling out a small wooden box. "Jake made it. He's been teaching himself woodworking." Jessica took the box carefully. It was beautifully crafted, with smooth edges and a tight-fitting lid. Inside, she found 3 photographs. One showed the triplets at work at the diner, laughing at something off-camera. Another showed them in their small apartment, Emma studying, while her brothers played cards. The third was a picture of all 4 of them together, taken just the week before. "They wanted you to see that you have family you've never met," Marcus explained. "People who already love you just because you're my daughter." Jessica stared at the photographs, seeing faces that shared some of her features. "They look happy." "They are. Despite everything they've been through, everything I put them through, they're happy. They taught me that happiness doesn't come from what you have, but from who you choose to love and fight for." Catherine was studying the photos over Jessica's shoulder. "They look like good kids." "They are. And they're not kids anymore. They're adults who made the choice to let me into their lives even though I didn't deserve it. Maybe I could meet them sometime," Jessica said hesitantly. Marcus felt his heart leap. They would love that. Emma especially. She's always wanted a sister. I already have siblings now, Jessica said, testing the words. That's weird. Good weird or bad weird? I don't know yet. Just weird. Marcus smiled. That's fair. Catherine checked her watch. Jessica, we should get home. You have homework. Jessica nodded, but made no move to leave. Will you keep writing letters? If you want me to. I want you to. And maybe I could write back sometimes. Marcus felt tears threaten again. I would love that more than anything. And maybe you could visit again. Not at school next time. At home. Catherine looked surprised but didn't object. We could arrange something, she said carefully. As Jessica and Catherine got back in their car, Jessica rolled down her window. Marcus? Yeah? Thank you for not giving up. On them or on me. Marcus watched them drive away, then sat in his truck for a long time, looking at his phone. He had a text from Emma asking how things went. Another from Jake telling him to drive safely. A third from Ryan saying they were proud of him for making the trip. For the first time in his life, Marcus Wellington felt like a rich man. Not because of what he owned, but because of who claimed him as family. 3 children he had found on a bridge, and 1 daughter he was slowly finding his way back to. The broken billionaire had lost everything that didn't matter and found everything that did. And as he started his truck for the long drive home, Marcus realized that this was what success really looked like. Not newspaper headlines or bank balances, but text messages from children who loved him despite his failures. It had taken losing everything to learn what was worth having. But sometimes the best stories begin with endings, and the greatest fortunes are built from the ground up, one relationship at a time.